Nadenhutten, or as the natives say, Genadenhutten, another of the Moravian villages in Tuscarawas County, offers one of the blackest pages in Ohio history. In 1781, the British officials at Detroit ordered these peaceful Indians scattered along the upper reaches of the Sandusky River and their town and crops abandoned. Later, when they were on the verge of starvation, the British permitted them to return temporarily to their homes to gather some corn. About 150 of them arrived at their old homes the latter part of February. While on this peaceful mission, they were set upon by a company of irresponsible Americans, who unjustly accused them of having connection with some Indian depredations in Pennsylvania. Under guise of giving them protection, the Indians were lured into one of their own abandoned buildings and derived their weapons. Then 90 of them were massacred in cold blood. Their only crime was their opposition to war. 2 Indian boys escaped to bring the story of this dastardly crime to the world. This horror aroused all the Indians, both Christian and savage, and their furious retaliation was echoed in the famous speech of Chief Logan on the burning of Colonel Crawford. Tuscarawas County seems to be blessed with villages whose annals are out of the ordinary. The quaint old town of Zor is one of the number. It is located a few miles north of New Philadelphia and was laid out in 1817 by a party of German reformers who purchased and held in common trust 9,000 acres of land in this vicinity. They also had several factories, a mill, and a brewery. The name Zor is derived from the name of that ancient town on the shore of the Dead Sea, mentioned in Genesis, as the place to which Lot fled from the wickedness of Sodom. They selected the name because of the similarity of their own flight from Germany to that made by Lot. Article 11 of their creed forbade participation in war. Their marriages were not solemnized by religious ceremonies, but were contracted by mutual consent, and the political authorities notified. They were dissenters from the Lutheran Church and rejected baptism, confirmation, and other ordinances. Like the Quakers, they refused to take an oath or remove their hats to anyone. In Germany, they had defied most government authority, and in America, they refused to recognize the public school system. The King's House, scene, the old hermitages, the formal gardens, the quaint tiled roofs, the old brewery, which is perhaps Ohio's most picturesque building, the pleasant lake, and many other things, make Zor an artist's Eden, an historian's paradise, and everybody's Arcadia. When the moon casts its silver light over the scene, the spectator forgets for the time that he is in Ohio and is carried to lands across the sea. No longer is the Zor property held in common, for the society disbanded in 1899 after 82 years as a successful communal organization, one of the few the country has ever known. Not far from Zor is Fort Lawrence State Park, located on the outskirts of the little town of Bolivar. This was the first fort built by Americans within the boundaries of what is now Ohio. It was erected in 1799 on the west bank of the Tuscarawas River below Sandy Creek. It was named Fort Lawrence in honor of Lawrence, who was president of the first Congress. It is mentioned in the famous Greenville Treaty as the eastern end of the treaty line. The wooden walls of the old fort have long since passed into decay, but their locations are now marked by hedgerows. It is quite fitting that the American flag continues to wave over the nation's first military defense work in the great Northwest Territory. The Tuscarawas River wends its quiet way throughout this part of the state, telling its story as it goes. By 30 hills I hurry down, or slip between the ridges, by 20 thorps, a little town, and 100 bridges. I chatter over stony ways, in little shops and troubles. I bubble into eddying bays, I babble on the pebbles. I steal by towns and grass plots, I slide by hazel covers. I move the sweet forget-me-nots that grow for happy lovers. And out again I curve and flow to join a bigger river, for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. This monument marks the place where the Confederate raider John Morgan surrendered to Major Rue on July 26, 1863, near Salinesville, about 7 miles south of Lisbon. This point is a fraction under 41 degrees north latitude, and was the farthest north to which any body of Confederate troops penetrated the territory, which remained loyal to the Union during the Civil War. Lincoln once declared that all the armies of Europe, Asia, and Africa combined, with all the treasures of the earth in their military chest, and with Napoleon for a commander, could never take a drink from the Ohio River in a trial of 1,000 years. Morgan and his men took several drinks from the Ohio River, but as they were not foreign invaders, Lincoln's statement was not disproven.